We're talking about running, but more so how to run an effective meeting. Because often one turns into three turn into five, and by 5 o'clock in the evening, you're too busy, you're overwhelmed, and you're drained, behind, and strangely unproductive, despite everything. We're looking at the research right now. And we find out that Lung and Rogelberg find that more meetings equals more fatigue and higher perceived workload. Shock horror, maybe so. They also find that meetings act like interruptions or daily hasslers that disrupt real work. Employees average 3 meetings per day in their research and about 2.5 hours spent in them. That is a long time. Now, in another research article, meetings are not always bad, they say. They think that the impact depends on context. Meetings' effectiveness strongly influence well-being, they say. Good meetings can help and bad meetings can harm. Factors like job type, your personality, and the meeting quality determined whether meetings feel useful or draining. And this research showed that there could be a loss of control over your work day. So with that, they said meetings essentially create a paradox. They're necessary for leadership, but they block deep, meaningful work at times too. You see, the research says that meetings function like interruptions that drain cognitive energy that's between our ears, how we think and how we use our brains. But when meetings are effective and aligned with goals, they can improve satisfaction and engagement. Now those two things, satisfaction and engagement, are towards the audience, that is the crowd of people at the meetings. The real issue is not meetings themselves, it's the amount. Are there too many? Are they poorly run? Are they misaligned with the actual work at play? So how can we solve all the problems of meetings? Firstly, you can audit your meeting load. Track the number of meetings daily. Identify your unnecessary ones and the very important ones. And within the meeting, identify the most specific point that is important, the most specific piece of the agenda that you need to spend most time at. Try to estimate low value meetings so that you can eradicate them. Protect deep work time. Essentially, the meeting is for the work. It's for creativity. It's for getting projects done. So block non-meeting hours out of your calendar. Instead, schedule focus periods so that you can think about thinking. That's philosophy of meetings. Treat them as non-negotiable because we're trying to think about the solution so that we can bring more intelligent arguments or more intelligent pieces of information to the meeting. Look, people get emotional in meetings. Sometimes they don't even like the person they're sitting beside. Shorten meetings is another thing to do. It can be effective. If you have, say, for example, a default 25 to 50 minute meeting, that's much better than saying, look, it's an hour or it's a 30-minute or half-hour meeting. Mentally, people just think it's minutes rather than that block of time which we are accustomed to from childhood to know exactly this is a long period. Try to end your meeting early when possible. Again, if it's a 50-minute meeting or if you program it in for 1 hour, 2 to 3 p.m., but you let people off 10 minutes early and say, look, that was very productive, well done everybody, well then it's going to be beneficial to all. Try to improve meeting quality, and you can do this by setting a clear purpose in the first place. Define the outcomes, and that's a little bit different than the agenda items. You want to say, as you list the agenda items, look, point number 1 that has some people have brought up here and they want to speak about is X, but it's X plus 1. Why is it X plus 1? Because we need to try and find the resolution in this way. This is for us all. This is not just for the people who brought it up. Things like that. Try to define those outcomes in a very purposeful and specific way though. Otherwise, what's the point in having 1, 2, 3 meetings around the same point? Also, assign roles and have a structure with that. Individuals appreciate even as being part of a meeting when they have responsibility. Limit interruptions. Phones can be good for taking notes, but then again, you could use the AI note taker, or of course, laptops and computers and all technologies can be good as well. Notepads can be good. All these things can be great, but if you assign to a specific person who can take the notes, then it's going to help everybody to have less distraction, and there's no excuse then, or less excuse at least, for them not to interact more. Now, if you like this video, please show so with a like or comment, good or bad, and we'll have a discussion down below. And please, of course, subscribe. On to the next one. Try to avoid random scheduling, because that's what it is. It's random. It's not set. It's not showing a process, not showing something that's actually going to work. We want to have things that work, that make sense for us all, not just for the head of the meeting. Try to create predictable routines. If people know that it's a 45-minute meeting and it's religious, that you're going to do the 45 minutes, not a minute more or not a bit less, they can plan the school pickup, they can plan the traffic time, they can plan whatever time they're going to have the nut roast in the evening. Align meetings with your goals, not your specific goals as a person, but goals with regard to the organization, the project, and so on. Only attend relevant meetings. If you're the leader, or if you want to be the leader, what is the point in actually wasting creative time, potential time to solve the problem of the issue in the first place? Rather, cancel the meeting every bi-weekly and do once a month and say, look, I have the solution, rather than talking about and getting a pile of ideas that essentially haven't worked before. Delegate where possible, give people that responsibility, but if you are declining, do so without guilt. There's absolutely no need to be guilty. If you're actually doing your work, if you're trying to solve the problem, well, then you're going to be beneficial. You can update people afterwards with regard to an email and say, look, here's what I see is the solution. Or, of course, if you have a good note taker and a good person who's doing the minutes of the meeting, you can, of course, read it and then just ping back an email and say, look, here's a quick solution. I was thinking about it. And plus, if it's a stressful meeting with regard to that, you don't have that stress if you're away from the meeting in the first place, allowing you to creatively think away from the meeting. At the end of the day, from meetings, we all want value, don't we? We want value in everything we do. Now, there can be a perception of value, so you want to increase that. Speak and contribute actively, rather than just like baloney and bull. Just say, look, I believe X, and 5 minutes later, I believe Y. Now, not to time it specifically, but do interact. You want to get the discussion going. At the end of the day, creativity comes from like-minded brains and different brains of people mixing together harmoniously without judgment to be able to equally put things into a pot of ideas, and then you just pick out or refine your ideas from there. Ensure decisions are made as well. That increases the value. Leave with clear next steps. How important that note taker is, extremely important. And allow that note taker to interject and make a point, not just on with regard to their own point, but on the notes themselves, or maybe something they have that has been clicking as they are taking the notes, because the brain works in a funny way in that when we write, it's far more beneficial for us. It's like a double take. We're taking in by our ears and are creating it on the page. So that note taker might have very valuable in the moment precision of an idea. So welcome it. Manage cognitive energy. We don't want to drain after the meeting, throughout weeks and months of meetings, and certainly not within the meeting. We want to be as efficient as possible. So take breaks between meetings. Allow 5 minutes. If you're doing, say, a 50-minute one, you can do 2 minutes, 5 minutes after, if it's going to be a long meeting over the hour. Try to refine things as you go. Measure the output, not the busyness. There's no point saying, oh, what a great meeting because everybody spoke. Yeah, but if you spoke and you didn't get anything back over it, what's the point? At the end of the day, you want to get productivity. So focus also on completed tasks. If you have 10 items on the agenda, you want to make sure you're getting the majority of them done before the next meeting. There's no point having them go over towards the next series of meetings after that. Try to separate meeting time from real work. Ideally, if we were to take time as a context, we want to have meetings away on the sidebar so that we have work 9 to 5 all the way through on the productivity and trying to do what the meetings bring. That means as time doesn't flow in two ways insofar as we don't have a parallel universe that we know of, or do we? But because we don't, that means we have to make sure that we get something from the meeting. There has to be productivity, because if it's interrupting or taking out 1 hour of our day or even in a week, we have to claw that time back. So there has to be something that triggers within the meeting for us all. Now, I mentioned earlier on with regard to my summer, my insights, and I think that these studies reveal a hard truth. Being busy in meetings is a good thing, but it can be a thing that pulls away time. It needs to be more busy and productive. So if you're a middle-aged man, and of course you are if you're watching this, then create a silent space for yourself to prepare for meetings so that you can get into the mold and know what you're going to say, know what you're going to react. Because at the end of the day, you have the agenda, or maybe at the beginning of the meeting, I should say, you have the agenda presented to you, and everybody should have that. So you know what's going to come up. So you know if you have 10 points, you can put in 10 individual points on that, or questions and so on.
Thanks for watching. Please like this video. If you subscribe, comment to say that you have, and we'll look after you.